Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Hired Live. I'm your host, Andrew Seaman, LinkedIn's senior news editor for job searches and careers. I'm so excited that you're here with us today, as always. And I want to ask you, as I always do, to introduce yourselves in the comments. Make sure that you're telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your career is, what your job search is like, whatever is going on in your professional life, and really what your goals are and what you hope to accomplish. And then, like I ask you every week, I want you to connect with each other, because obviously job searching and moving through your career can sometimes feel lonely, but it's always great to reach out, build relationships, and build strong bonds so that you're not doing it alone. Sometimes I hear from people who end up reaching out to each other and creating little groups so that they could job search together or work on career milestones together. And they find that it's really helpful to them. So hopefully you'll see someone who is working in the field that you want to work in, or maybe they work in the same industry as you. You could reach out, build those connections, and build those relationships. And we already have so many people in the comments joining us. And I want to say a quick hello to Kim from Las Vegas, Kendra from California, Alessandra from London, Yolanda from Texas, Jocelyn from Toronto, Sweta also from Canada, our good friend, Lisa from North Carolina, Iman from Iran, Diana from Chicago, and Lawrence from Texas. Keep introducing yourselves and also get your questions in because we have such a wonderful guest today. He is a New York Times best-selling author and has a new book out called Abundance: The Inner Path to Wealth. It's a really wonderful book, and our producers will be dropping the link in the comments throughout the show for you to find it. He is also the founder of the Chopra Foundation. So I would love to welcome to the screen Dr. Deepak Chopra. Welcome so much.
Thank you, Andrew. It's nice to be with you.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you, and because you've written so much, you've studied so much, you have really an amazing career and journey through your life. So it's great to hear from you. And this book is so interesting. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about why you wanted to write it.
Well, I've always asked people why they do what they do. They want a good job. Why do they want a good job? They want a good relationship. Why do they want a good relationship? They want lots of money. Why? So if you keep asking why, in the end, you'll get to one answer, and that is everyone wants a feeling that they call happiness or fulfillment or joy. That's the feeling you want, and you then go about it through all these ways. So when I wrote this particular book, Abundance, I was looking at what makes people happy. And there's a lot of very good research on that now. People who are happy find opportunities in times of adversity. That's number one. They don't complain, condemn, criticize, or play the victim. They pay attention. They accept the situation as it is. They appreciate what they already have. They feel gratitude, and they focus on loving relationships. That's the first thing. The second thing is what we call, life circumstances, how much money you have, etc. Believe it or not, that's only about 10 to 12% of your daily happiness experience comes from only money. And then the third component is the daily choices you make every day. There are choices we make for personal pleasure, such as shopping, etc., entertainment, alcohol, sex, so on. But there are other choices we make for fulfillment. The choices we make for pleasure, they make us happy, but for a short time. The choices we make for fulfillment, which means finding meaning or purpose or making another person happy, those actually give us a sense of fulfillment. So I wrote the book because when I looked at extremely rich people and extremely poor people, I found that they shared something in common. They could think of nothing other than money. In fact, the book was inspired by a lyric from Bob Marley, who said in one of his songs, "Some people are so poor, all they have is money." Now, money, of course, is very useful, but you need, in addition, what we call a sense of security, safety, sensuality, vitality, love, belongingness, creative expression, insight, intuition, imagination, higher vision, transcendence. When you have all of that, then you are truly abundant. And that's why I wrote the book.
That's really wonderful. And before we go on, I just want to say another quick hello to everyone who's joining us. We have Marvin from Maryland, Patricia from Atlanta, Thomas from the Dominican Republic, Sasa from Vancouver, Richard from Long Island, and Trish from California. So welcome to all of you. I know you're going to get a lot out of this discussion. And Dr. Chopra, one of the things that always stands out to me is that when there's a recession or there's difficult times that people go through, they really look to money as a solution. And to me, it seems like what you're writing about in the book is giving people a way to sort of guard against only using that as a way to weather difficult times, because money can come and go, but there are things you could work on internally to help sort of prop you up. So it seems to take that different approach. And can you tell us a little bit about how people can start working toward that goal of finding that inner wealth you talk about?
I think one can begin with something that I've taught for 30 years: contemplative self inquiry and a little bit of meditation. So, if people close their eyes and just ask themselves very basic questions: who am I? Am I the changing body, or am I the awareness in which the changing body is an experience? Am I changing emotions, or am I the awareness in which the changing of emotions are experienced? On and on. What do I really want? What is my deepest desire? What is my purpose in life? If I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, what would I do and who would benefit? And finally, what am I grateful for? So once you begin this process of inquiry, that's the fascinating thing, is all the answers are already within you. There's an inner intelligence within you, which is the ultimate and supreme genius, which mirrors the wisdom of the universe. And it's not your mind, actually, it's your spirit. It's the source of the mind. Therefore, anything that helps you quieten the mind and reflect in quietness, you will see that you have all the answers. The answers may come to you in the form of an insight, intuition, imagination, coincidence, what spiritual traditions call the grace of the divine. But if you live the questions, then life definitely will move you into the answers. And this doesn't come from me alone. It's been part of the wisdom traditions of the world for thousands of years.
Definitely. Yeah. And one thing that I always wonder is because I know that a lot of this work is so important, because a lot of people, they neglect sort of their inner self, and they just try and sort of go along, and they don't really acknowledge what their needs are and their own needs. And for someone who is busy, maybe they have a 9 to 5 job, maybe they have a 7 to 7 job, what is your advice to them about making a priority to work on themselves and give themselves the gift of working on something like this, to say, listen,
If,
I need to spend some time on me?
if somebody says they don't have the time, they're very busy, they are the ones who need it more than anyone else. I say only busy people have time. Only busy people have time. The people who are always making excuses never really get anything done. Also, yeah, do realize that multitasking is not the answer. When you multitask, you actually are not capable of multitasking. You move from one thing to another, and you don't do anything properly anyway, because you're switching very fast from one thing to the other. It messes up your neural networks, causes inflammation, and also actually is addictive. So make time to do things with full awareness and full attention. So I say there's sleep time, there's meditation time, there's recreation time, there's downtime, there's relationship time, there's mindful eating time, but there's also mindful work time. So when you're doing your work, focus only on that, and you'll do less and accomplish more. Ultimately, the key is to do minimum and accomplish a lot. Maximum use of energy, and efficient use of energy, if you pay attention and compartmentalize the activities you do. So that's what I do. I have set times during the day, and when I'm doing one thing, I don't do anything else. And first of all, there's no stress. Secondly, you get a lot more done.
Yes, no, I think that's wonderful advice. And also in the book, you give actually a step-by-step guide to sort of work through the process. So it's not just that you're telling people the goodness of working on this, you're giving them a path to that. And how did you develop that step-by-step guide? Is it through your own experiences?
Yeah, partly through my own experience, but actually the book is based on very ancient methods of yogic practice. There are 8 different steps in the practice, and you know what Abraham Maslow called the hierarchy of needs. That's actually expressed in the tradition of yoga through what are called chakras. Everyone's heard the word chakra, but chakra simply means wheel of awareness. So, these different wheels of awareness are symbolic representations of metaphors of our fundamental aspirations and needs. So, in Eastern wisdom traditions, there's something that I'm sure your audience or a lot of people have heard about. It's called Tantra or Tantra. Tantra are ritual practices that combine visualization, goal setting, intentions, and mantra. So I use those practices, yantra, tantra, mantra, to express how people could harness the power of intention, harness the power of insight, intuition, imagination through very specific practices that I didn't actually invent. They've been present in Eastern wisdom traditions, and not only in India, but in the Far East and the Zen practices of Japan and China as well.
Yeah. And I have to say that, reading the book, it's really good because you dive into a lot of the concepts that, like you said, people are familiar with, even yoga, because, they have been westernized and a lot of times diluted, and the meaning is different than what it actually is. So it's nice to get that education of the background and the full definition of those words and the meaning of them. So it's really helpful. And the one question I want to ask is, well, to people watching, I want to remind you, get your questions in because we're going to be taking them in just a bit. But one of my questions for you, Dr. Chopra, is, for people who are job seeking, a lot of times they feel a little bit down, or, they have a lot on their mind, especially now with everything going on in the world. How would you say that, working on sort of this path will help them, whether, their difficult times, whether they're job searching, whether they're having difficult time at work? What would you say is sort of the selling point for them?
So, Andrew, one thing is for sure that your LinkedIn platform is an amazing platform for people who are seeking jobs and people who can communicate with each other their ideas and their strengths and their bios. But there's something else that people can do using the LinkedIn platform, and that is they can create a soul profile, which means they're willing to actually reveal themselves and their personalities beyond their bios. And you create a soul profile by asking a few questions. In 1 or 2 words, what is your contribution to the world or to your job or to society? In 1 or 2 words, can you remember your peak experiences? In 1 or 2 words, what's your purpose in life? In 1 or 2 words, what's a good friendship mean to you? What do you expect of a good friendship? What do you contribute to a good friendship? In a word or two, can you mention your heroes, your icons, your heroines in history, mythology, or religion? In 1 or 2 words, can you write down what your unique talents are? If you had all the money in the world, all the time in the world, how would you use it and who would benefit? And in 1 or 2 words, if you could do the impossible, what would it be? Now, this is a much deeper kind of revelation and revealing of yourself than your job. And then you ask people to share that. And sooner or later, you'll create a network, and you will be very interestingly finding coincidences, meaningful relationships, and insights that will help you find the right job that fits with your life purpose and with the right people as well. So, for a very good career, there are a few things that are required. First of all, you need to work in a team where everybody complements each other's strengths. Number one. Number two, you need to have shared vision And number three, you need to have some kind of emotional and spiritual friendship. When you have those components, then that's a very good team and bound for success. This work is based on a lot of research that shows that maximum diversity of talent, maximum diversity of education, complementing strengths, having shared vision, and creating groups of emotional and social bonding is very important. Something that can easily be done and facilitated on a site such as LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Well, and before we take questions from the audience, I have one more question, and it's really for people watching and saying, I'm going to invest time in myself to work on this. This is not a one and done thing, right? This is something that you have to commit to, and you have to basically make sure you keep it up. It's not that you could just read the book, work through the steps once, and then you're good, right? You have to sort of make a commitment that this is the
You've
path
made
you're on.
Actually, what I've done is made a ritual of these steps, and I do them every day, and then it becomes part of your routine.
Wonderful. Well, and our first question comes from Christine, who asks, is fulfillment an outcome of abundance?
Fulfillment and abundance go together. When you're fulfilled, you feel abundant. It's a feeling. Okay. It's not scarcity consciousness, it's abundance consciousness. By the way, you can trigger that feeling anytime if you just close your eyes, put your attention in your heart, and say, what am I grateful for? Notwithstanding what's happening in the world, not it's withstanding what's happening in my life right now. What am I grateful for? That question triggers sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts that opens the window to your soul, where there is what we call generosity of spirit. Your spirit is infinitely abundant. So, abundance and fulfillment go together.
Yes, it's not like a computer. There's no storage limit. It could keep growing.
That's it.
and and Nicole wants to know, what is your advice for building new relationships when you're joining a new company?
Three or four things, they all begin with A. So, first A stands for attention. Become a good listener. Second A stands for affection. Let people know that you care for them and that you actually are there to help them out. You hold their back. The third A is appreciation. Notice some good quality in the other person and then appreciate that. And finally, acceptance. Don't try to change another person to fit your own needs. It's hard enough for you to change yourself. So remember the four A's, and you will build relationships very fast.
Wonderful. And just a reminder to everyone watching, if you miss any of this or you want to revisit it, you can rewatch this show right when we're done. It'll be archived, so you could just hit refresh and you'll be able to watch this again. And Dr. Chopra, we have a question here from Stace, which is, what is the best way to start a new ritual, to start incorporating these things?
I think the best way is to do it one step at a time. So if you're going to start meditation, start 5-10 minutes a day, gradually build it to 15-20 minutes. In 21 days, you will begin to start a habit. In about 66 or 70 days, it will become a habit. So one step at a time. Well begun is half done, but then stick to it for at least 21 days, and then it'll be easier to continue for, say, 60 to 70 days, and then you have a new habit.
Great advice. And then Ashley wants to know, is emotional abundance more important than financial abundance? How do you create balance?
Well, no. If you are emotionally balanced, you are more likely to have financial abundance. So financial abundance comes from sense of security, not the total amount of money that you have. How secure are you about the money that you do have? Do you spend a little bit of time putting away every month a little savings, say 10-12%? Do you have retirement? Do you pay your taxes on time? Do you have other kind of default mechanisms like insurance? These are things that are very important in a work setting so that you can actually not have to worry about money all the time. And many now job settings encourage financial security, in addition to physical security, emotional security, relationship security, and job security. So they all go together. When you actually ask people, what do they worry about the most? They actually worry about money the most. But when they get the money, their anxiety doesn't disappear, because their basic set point for happiness, they're always looking for problems. So you should always ask yourself, if I had all the money and all the time in the world, how would I express my unique talents? Who would benefit? And then you gravitate towards your life purpose, which gives you fulfillment, which gives you financial success, which also creates emotional fulfillment.
Yes, and that's a great exercise, I think, for anyone who's looking for a career or figuring out what they want to do with their life, because we know a lot of people are trying to do that right now. So I think that's really wonderful advice. And we have a question here from Ivan, who asked, how do you identify and communicate your needs to reach your inner path to wealth?
You should be asking very simple questions. What am I observing? What am I feeling? Right now, what do I need? And then how do I fulfill that need? And in a relationship, you do it by requesting the fulfillment of the need, not demanding the fulfillment of the need. Basic question is ask the questions, and then life moves you into the answers.
Great. And, and we have a similar question here from John, who asks, what is your advice for someone like myself who is currently unfulfilled by their career, but doesn't know what change to make?
Yes, if you're unfulfilled in your career, then you need to take a little bit of time off and actually reflect on what your deepest desire is. In fact, you should need to ask that question. What is my deepest desire? The wisdom traditions tell us that you are your deepest desire. As is your desire, so is your intention. As is your intention, so is your will. And as is your will, so is your choice. As is your choice, so is your destiny. That's a sequence that follows. Instead of always grabbing at money, 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 making that an obsession, that will only create more stress. So when you ask these deeper questions, then they say, build it, imagine it, visualize it, live it in your dreams, and the money will come.
Wonderful. And the last question we have is from Anuja, who asked, how do you deal with the anxiety and stress of applying for jobs, assessments, interviews, and rejections? I think a lot of people watching wonder that too.
I think you should say every rejection is actually a success. In a way that was not the job for you. So regard every failure as success in disguise, every adversity as an opportunity. You should ask yourself, what is the message here? What is the opportunity here? And how can I take advantage of what I've learned from this particular rejection?
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Chopra, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our viewers?
Thank you very much. I enjoy coming on LinkedIn. I post very regularly. I'm very grateful to be on your platform.
Of course. Well, thank you for joining us. And obviously, we're dropping the link to your book, Abundance, The Inner Path to Wealth, which you can pick up now. So thank you so much, Dr. Chopra. And I hope everyone is following you on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I know you all got so much out of this conversation, and as much as I did. So please take care of yourself. Make sure you are paying attention to what you need. The world can seem like a crazy place right now. My thoughts are with everyone in Ukraine. In fact, we're going to be talking about that Monday on LinkedIn News Live. So if you're looking for more information on what's happening, you could tune in on Monday, because my colleague, Nina Melendez, will actually be talking about that on Monday, and that is with UCLA's human rights expert, Kate McIntosh. And she'll be speaking about what's happening in Ukraine, and also with investment strategist Edward Yardeni. And that's Monday, March 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time from the LinkedIn News page. And of course, I'll be back here on Friday with another episode, and we'll be talking about career breaks in honor of International Women's Day. We'll be discussing a topic topic that many women face, which is they leave the workforce for one reason or another, but how do they re-enter it after a career break? So I'll be talking with Susan Raytano-Davey, who's an expert on career re-entry, and Audrey Daniels, who's an expert in inclusive female leadership. And we'll be discussing about how to get back into the workforce after taking time off. And that is Friday, March 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. My producer will be dropping the link in the comments so that you can RSVP right now. And like I said, please take care of yourself. It's things are a little bit up and down in the world right now. And you could only get hired. You could only be a good candidate if you're safe and well enough to do so. And that means well in a healthy perspective, but also on an inner perspective too. So until next time, stay safe and best of luck.